All right. Supposedly we are live this time. So technically Jess and I already filmed this once, and then I realized I didn't hit go live, so you guys saw nothing. So we get to do this all over again.
Yeah.
Yes, for those of you who don't know, I am Charlene. This is my channel, Coffee and a Book. And my co-host is the lovely Jess next to me. She is from Pages and Grace. And I don't have the description filled out right now, but I will have her channel linked down in the description after this video goes live. If you haven't checked her out, you need to.
Hey, we're live. I see it this time.
Yay. This is what we get for not checking.
You know, first go around, it was just practice. We're good.
I'm like, I had a list of everything to do. That was the one thing that didn't make the list.
Now you know.
Now I know. Right. So we are discussing Healer by Linda Windsor, which is the first book in the Brides of Alba series. It's the first book for this book club.
Yes.
Right. So we'll start again with initial thoughts, like the early parts of the book.
Yeah, so non-spoilery thoughts. It started off very brutal. So the prologue, getting through it, I was like, what kind of book am I in for? Is it going to be intense like this the whole book? And it definitely settled down. There's still some attacks back and forth, but it's nothing like that first prologue.
Yeah, that first one was really brutal.
Yeah, going into it, that first one, I was like, I don't know what to expect. I've never read this author before. So if you get to the prologue and that's it, like, yeah, it changes. And then we kind of follow Ronan and Brenna throughout the first few chapters, and it bounces back and forth. I feel like it really gave a good depiction of the area and the culture that they're living in. I am not familiar with that. This is kind of my dipping my toes into this time in history. I thought it was very interesting how she lived and how secluded she was from everything from a very young age.
Yeah.
That would be very difficult.
Yeah. Because she grew up with her nurse. And then, for what I understand, she spent some time at like an abbey or a convent or something, learning about the Bible, learning about her faith. And that seemed to be most of it. And then she sees Brother Martin. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
So very few people to spend your time
with. Fail.
Yeah.
I absolutely fail.
Your wolf thinks it's a puppy.
Yes, but then a wolf, when it comes down to it, he's defending her no matter what. That was sweet.
Yeah. Faithful to the end.
Yeah.
And then I think the next thing we talked about was Brenna and Ronan's relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of our thoughts on that.
Yeah, it was interesting, the way that they came together, the way that they met, and it was through the Wolfhound, which was really cool to see. It did feel very insta-lovey as they went into, he recovers, he wakes up first of all, and then he recovers, and then they love each other, they get married, and with child almost immediately. That took it away from the story for me for a little bit, but it redeemed itself throughout the end of the book. I felt if I could just set that aside and keep that over here, and just believe in the romance, it did take off from there for me.
Yeah. And I know some people talked about when he was unconscious and she was having to take care of him, that it was kind of awkward.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, unfortunately, you start taking care of someone who's unconscious. You have to think about the realities of what that entails.
Yeah.
Good, bad, or indifferent. But I do appreciate that she tried to go through it in a way that was still honoring to her faith, that didn't cause her to sin.
Mhm.
But I understand that would be a very difficult situation to find yourself in. The other thing I'm trying to figure out is how this young girl moved this full-grown man into the cave.
Uphill, like just
uphill in the snow both ways.
Well, and they describe the hill as very treacherous, like when they're going down.
Mhm.
So that I'm envisioning this hill going up. I really hadn't thought about that part, but you're right. I don't know logistically how that would work.
Yeah. I feel like it had to have taken a really long time, lots of starts and stops.
Yeah.
To get him up there, but unfortunately not an easy situation. No indoor plumbing, no modern technology. That would have to be hard. And then that kind of led us into the contrast with Caden and Rhiannon.
Yes.
That is a very different relationship.
It is. It is. And it was very public and just wanting to be more of a power couple. Almost like taking control, shove him aside, we're here. That was very uncomfortable at times to read through.
Yeah.
But the two different relationships I felt were the way it was depicted really made the two brothers. I mean, with Caden, he went, and he was okay. I felt like the first part of the book he was okay. Like he was okay with his station until all of a sudden he's gone. And he was talking about how he was like, I know I'm supposed to be sad that he's gone.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of okay.
Yeah.
And that really, I don't know. The contrast between the two of them was definitely there.
Yeah. And you could tell that like he really loved his father. He just wished his father loved him as much as he loved his father. But Ronan, it was almost like there was no love lost between them. That he's my brother, but if he was gone, I don't really care.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just kind of harsh because Ronan's treatment by his father versus Caden's is not Ronan's fault. But he's taken out on Ronan, not on the person who actually treated him differently.
Yeah. And there were several times throughout the book that he was like, I wish, I mean, he didn't say this verbatim, but it was almost like, I wish my father would just say that I'm doing a good job or give me the same respect that he used to give to Ronan instead of just, hiding away and wasting away in grief rather than just giving me, I'm ready to take over. I'm ready to do this, but my father doesn't believe in me. That was
That's now making me think of Denethor in Lord of the Rings.
Mm-hmm.
If you've seen that one. And when you haven't seen that one. Okay.
No.
Well, he has his two sons, and the one he loses is the one that he loves the most. That was his favorite. And he really has no faith in the younger son. And there's even a point where he actually says, yes, I wish that you had died and your brother had lived. And it's like, that's just harsh.
Yeah.
Like, I can't imagine feeling about that any of my kids.
No.
Or
I can't
that
imagine having you personally. I mean, that's I can't imagine.
I understand you get along with one child better, or you understand this child's better in this area, this child's better in that area, but to actually love one child more than the other is completely different.
Yeah.
And then did also kind of talk about how I saw Caden and Rhiannon's relationship as being kind of showing the opposite of what Bren and Ronan's relationship is. That Bren and Ronan, it's a very quiet, not quite so public relationship.
Yeah.
People don't know what's going on in their bedroom at night.
No.
But they also communicate with each other. They have each other's best interest at heart. Whereas, like you said, Kate and Rhiannon is a very power couple. And they want what they want, whatever it takes to get it. But they don't really take the other person into consideration when they go about that. And we specifically see that with Rhiannon when she and Kina are doing some kind of dark magic ritual on Caden. And she knows he would hate it if he was awake. But she does it anyway.
Yeah.
I would rather have Brenna and Ronan's relationship. Anyway.
For sure. That open communication and just, I don't know. There were several red flags as I was reading through with Rhiannon. Just little things she would do, and she would try to cover it up, and she would try to just come off as, I'm doing whatever I can for the family, but there were some times where she just, I don't know. She was very ready to take over.
Yeah. Which makes me wonder if Caden actually knew about the poisoning. Or if that was just Rhiannon's own doing.
I felt like he didn't. I don't know for sure, but I really felt
the book doesn't tell us that he knew.
No.
But it doesn't tell us he didn't know either.
Exactly. I feel like he was stepping into the role, but he didn't know that everything that was behind it.
Yeah. He knew his father wasn't doing well. But it may not have been that he wanted his father to die. His wife just did.
Mm-hmm.
Not a good family situation. Right. And then, because mentally I kind of split the book between the time in the cave and the time that Ronan's home. Kind of the thoughts on getting to that final confrontation at the end of the book. And then Caden's sentence in the epilogue.
Yeah. And I agree with you that it was very, very quick at the end. It was intense. I had to read it a couple times because I just felt like I didn't absorb everything the first time. We're getting new characters thrown at us the last little bit. We're getting just all these things that are happening very quickly and then moving on to the next thing. Where I'm like, wait, what? What just happened? And so I'd have to go back and reread it. And we also talked about like the language that was used in this. That also added on to missing a few details as I went on. But at the very end, where we have Caden being sentenced, and it just kind of, it leaves a lot open, which I know there's a second book and a third book. Mm-hmm. So it leaves it open for that. But it also, I really appreciated how he's not standing up for himself, and the people that should be really upset with him are the ones standing up for him in that moment. That really showed the level of forgiveness and the level of, or just the character that Brenna has. I was impressed by her, and her ability to just keep choosing the next right thing and keep choosing the next right thing throughout the whole book. That was really impactful to read about.
Even when it's hard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially when it's hard.
Yeah. I know Caden's sentence kind of seemed lenient at the time because I could easily see him being the type of person who is like, yes, I was banished, but I'm going to get people on my side and I'm going to come back and seek vengeance anyway.
Yeah.
And so it seemed like a really easy way to find yourself in trouble again. But then finding out he's the lead in the second book, I'm like, I guess it doesn't make sense to sentence him to death, or he can't be the lead in the next one. And if he's in prison, it probably doesn't work either.
No, and I don't know. I like what you talked about Rhiannon. With what's her ending?
Yeah. She fell over the waterfall along with Kina. Mm-hmm. But did they actually die? Because we don't see any evidence of that.
Yeah.
I don't even know if they say they find anything.
I don't remember if they did.
I don't remember if they did or not.
I mean, I know like it goes with the next story, so
yeah,
it could. definitely be a thing.
I see her as a point of conflict in the next book, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. Now, and I've seen people, or when I posted it at the beginning of the month, I heard a couple people say it was like one of their favorite series when they were younger, which made me really excited for it. But I think, I don't know. I think Rhiannon might show up in the second one. I might.
I think she could. The only thing is, I kind of see her as the character that's not going to get the redemption arc. Like I don't see her as the character getting a redemption arc. She's going to be stuck in her ways.
Mm-hmm.
And if she did survive, she becomes the thorn in his side that he's trying to change, but he's stuck with her.
Yeah.
So.
I don't know. Are you going to go on to the second one?
At some point, I think I need some distance after this one because I'm not ready for Kaden to have a redemption yet. I'm still mad at him.
I know. We talked about that last time where it was like, I just felt, I don't know if I'm ready to hear it. I don't know how interested I am in it. I do think the other brother I would want to hear.
Yeah.
First.
Ellen, I'm interested in. I like Ellen.
Yeah. And he didn't get a lot of time in this story to really see him as a character.
Yeah. Especially because he got taken hostage for most of the book.
He's just over there.
Yeah.
But I'm interested. I'm not sure if I'll pick it up. I won't pick it up right away, like you said. But it'll be there when I'm ready for it, I think.
Yeah. I think honestly, I would be more interested in reading more about Daniel's story than either of the other two brothers.
Yes, give me more of Daniel.
Yeah. So I'm hoping we get to see more of him at least.
Yes.
That would make me feel better.
That's possible.
Yeah. And if we get more of Brone, I might be okay with him randomly showing up in this book.
Yes. Hopefully that's why he showed up.
Yeah.
It felt so random. I had to go back and reread that part where he talked about, or where he just showed up. And I thought it was Daniel. Like I thought his name, they were calling him something different for a minute. And I had to go back and like, nope, this is a new character all of a sudden. Okay. I'm with you now.
I was actually watching TV while I was reading that chapter. And so I was reading through the commercials, and when I got to that part, I was like, did I skip a page? Did I miss something because of watching the TV show? So I went back and reread it and went, nope, it reads exactly the same as it did during the commercial break. So
Yeah. There were a couple moments. That one was probably the biggest. But there were a couple moments where I had to go back and reread because it just didn't, I don't know. It didn't flow well at certain points. Not the whole book, but there were just a few points along the way that, wait, what just changed? Because things would just change so quickly and move on, especially in that second half of the book. Like you said, it felt rushed.
Yeah. Like we had 2 or 3 months go by during the time that they're in the cave because he's unconscious for several weeks and then he's awake for several weeks healing. And it almost felt like we got to the last part of the book. And it's like, well, we have to keep it interesting. It has to keep moving. The pacing used in the first part of the book worked just fine. Why do we need to move this one faster?
Exactly.
So, I would have liked to spend a bit more time with some of the characters than we actually got with them.
Mm-hmm.
And so then what would you say were your overall thoughts on the book?
I ended up with, I think, a 3.5 star rating for it. It was almost 4, but that insta love, it got me. I can handle insta love in like a cheesy romance or something like that. But they definitely fell in love and then were married and then with a child. And it was so fast. And from a perspective of she hadn't had a lot of experience outside of her living situation. I could definitely see her needing that, and I know, like she said, I need this. I need somebody to if I have his child, he'll come right back. But I think you brought it up last time about it was harder to believe his side of it.
Yeah.
And I know there were several weeks, so it felt faster than it probably was.
Yeah.
But it felt quick, and it wasn't believable right away.
Mm-hmm.
But in that second half where they moved back and it did have time to develop on Paige, it felt more real later. But at the beginning, it was hard for me to go with.
Yeah. And because she had the prophecy, so she could see, I'm going to marry him, I'm going to have his child. It makes sense why she was like, okay, this is what God has planned for me, so that's what I'm going to do.
Mm-hmm.
And she obviously did care about him because she was taking care of him. But yeah, Ronan didn't know her as long, and he knew exactly who she was when he woke up.
Yes.
And knew that, like, this is the enemy. He still did, I can believe coming to like her, but to the point of marriage, it makes you go, I don't know, maybe things were different back then. But yeah, it did seem a lot faster on his end. Also,
and
there
the
was a
straight
point
to marriage. And the straight to marriage.
Yeah,
like, I can handle, like, you meet somebody and you fall in love.
Yeah.
But you do wait a little bit, baby.
Yeah.
You know? And I understand the combining of the bloodlines, and from Brother Martin's perspective, how he was okay with it, but it also just, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. It didn't feel romantic at that point.
No. And it was weird when she was initially talking about the prophecy, because I was getting kind of confused at first because it almost sounded like they were going to get married, she was going to have a child, and then he was going to be gone. And she was just going to raise this child by herself. And so I was like, is he going to leave her? Is he going to die? And then neither of those happened. So yeah. I'm kind of confused on that part of the prophecy.
I mean, I could see, like, not in the prophecy, because the prophecy...
Or I should say in her visions. Sorry.
In her vision, but she thought he was a traveling...
maybe that was why.
I wonder if that's why she didn't know his identity. I don't know, she was very quick to forgive the not knowing who he was. Very quick to forgive.
Although she did leave the cave for several hours to come to that decision. But.
Yes. I would need to leave the cave for a little bit, for sure.
Like, okay, that's a shock. I'll be back later.
Definitely.
But it was at least better that they started their marriage with no lies between them.
Yes. And I liked how Brother Martin kind of set up that test. That he's like, I'll marry you. But he knew who he was. And he kind of set it up that Ronan needed to tell the truth first. Didn't he go off too?
Huh?
Didn't he go off too before he came back and told her? I feel like they both stormed off into the woods for a while at separate times.
Maybe? I don't remember now if he did or not. I know she did.
Well, I feel like she thought he was leaving and wasn't going through after Brother Martin talked to him, is what in my head, what I remember. But the test of, are you going to be honest in this relationship, or are you going to go in with a lie and then trap her in the situation where she didn't have the decision?
Yeah.
To make a well-rounded decision.
Yeah. Because obviously she ultimately forgave him.
Mm-hmm.
But if they got into the marriage with her believing the lie, she may not have forgiven him for that.
Yeah. He made the right choice. And I liked how he had to make that decision on his own. I feel like that would prove more to Brenna his loyalty to her. I also loved how Brenna constantly had that conversation with God going. Not just at certain times of the day, it was constant all day. And I'm sure living by yourself in a cave would really train you in that. But it carried on throughout. I felt like there was this constant indecision making, and in the everyday decisions, there was this constant open communication with God.
Yeah.
Which was really cool to see. I really appreciated that about the book.
Yeah. And I appreciated seeing how she went from, I've been living by myself or with one or two other people. And I have a strong faith. I'm very devoted to God, but my faith hasn't been tested. And then going to Ronan's home, and now her faith has actually been tested. And we can see that because she starts questioning things.
Mm-hmm.
And I gotta pull that earphone out. I'm getting an echo back. It's throwing me off. But yeah, now her faith is actually being tested, and she's constantly praying, I'm doubting, or I believe, help my unbelief. Because when we're surrounded by people in the world, especially people of the world, it can make it harder to stand firm in our faith than when we're isolated. And so getting to see that she was able to have a strong faith, but then she still had to stand firm in that once she wasn't on her own anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I feel like as we, like, from childhood into early adulthood into adulthood, we experience that. We experience it when we go into a new situation, like a new workplace or a new, gathering of friends, that you're going to have lots of different people and a lot of people bringing their values into the situation. And that really is when you are tested. And that firm faith stands up.
Yeah. And you even have a lot of different people who all proclaim to be Christians, but they don't all share the same beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
Or they don't all have the same values. And that becomes the hard part too. Yeah. Is it's like, okay, we say we believe the same thing, but we see a lot of differences.
Mm-hmm.
And are those differences okay within the faith? Or do some of those beliefs go against the Bible according to what I believe?
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of the most difficult, for sure.
Yeah. And I mean, you see in their home, you have people like Kina who don't want anything to do with Christianity.
Mm-hmm.
So you know where they stand. Yeah. Then you have other people, even like Ronan, who believe or want to believe. And they believe similarly to you. And then you have people like Ronan who try to blend the two. They try to have one foot in each camp. I want to be Christian, but I also want to do what the world does.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's amazing how you see that in the story, but in our everyday lives all the time. All the time.
And the world tells you you're supposed to act a certain way towards everybody. And the Bible tells you differently.
Yes. Yes. What was your rating? I don't think we went over that this time.
No, we didn't.
What did you end up thinking and rating the book?
I ended up giving it 4 stars. I really enjoyed reading through the book itself. Very easy to read, very easy to get through. I enjoyed a lot of the characters and a lot of the story arcs. Not quite enough to call it a new favorite, so that's why it was 4 stars. But then also, the last part of the book felt way too rushed to me. But other than that, I really enjoyed the book. Like I said, I'm not ready to go into book 2 yet because I'm still mad at Katie.
No, he doesn't have any redemption, I feel like, in the first book. I'm not even sure that he is repentant or even, I don't know. I don't know if he feels bad for what he did.
Yeah. I know he feels like he deserves to get whatever he gets.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if he's actually sorry that he did it.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. That was his last chapter and epilogue. Where you have, like, Brenna standing up for Caden when Ronan just wants to be done with it and end this threat. Yeah, that would be hard to stand up for for Caden in that moment, and Brenna definitely did.
Yeah.
Over and over.
Even when his own brother doesn't.
What did you think about the father, Tarlock? Yeah, Tarlock. What did you think about him, and especially like his death in that time frame?
Obviously, you don't like Tarlock at the beginning of the book.
Yeah.
But once he realized who Brenna actually was, we won't talk about when he thought she was Joanna, but once he knew who she actually was, I really liked his story after that. Because he had realized that he had technically done the wrong thing. It took him way too long to figure that out, but he did eventually figure it out. And watching him change and try to be a better person and try to do better. I feel like at least his death, being an honorable death in war, if you will, was at least deserved at that point. Because they do say, if you die in battle, you die with honor.
Yeah.
And I think if his death had happened earlier in the book, like around the time that Ronan was wounded, I don't think he would have deserved the honor of a soldier's death. But I think by the end of the book, he did.
I loved how, like when he was poisoned and he was recovering, how talking about getting to meet his grandchild was one thing that brought him through. And how Brenna just steps in and is like, I'm going to care for you. You killed my parents, but I'm still going to come in and care for you because that's what I do. I'm a healer. She just went over and over with that. And at the very end where it talks about going to his funeral and how sad she was. She didn't expect to be as sad as she was from somebody that she didn't know all that well, honestly, and had all the reason in the world to dislike. And she still grieved his loss. That was beautiful.
And the irony that the person actually taking care of him is the one they don't trust. And one of the ones they do trust is the one actually hurting him.
Yeah.
Which is true, so you don't know who you can trust.
No.
Did we have anything else?
Oh,
I think that covered most of it.
I think so. Next month's book.
Next month's book. You're doing better at this than I am. It's my mystery. So next month's book is Cities of Smoke and Starlight by Allie Ernest. It is marketed as a science fiction fantasy. So steampunk elements, but also some magic. And it is by a Christian author, but as far as I'm aware, she doesn't market her books as Christian fiction. They're just clean fiction. So, yes, she was part of the No Spice Romance group that had a bunch of free books back in 2023. So
Nice. Yeah, I have it on Kindle. It was free at one point when I picked it. I know it was free at some point. I think somebody in the book club mentioned it in the chat. And yeah, I'm looking forward to picking that one up.
I've been wanting to read it for a while, and I was like, okay, I need a way sci-fi. I'm going with this one.
Well, are you finding it hard now that you have your list of how many months do you have planned out already?
11.
11. Do you find it now? You're like, man, I really want to get to that one, but now I have to wait till this month to get to it.
And I have times when I hear about other books, and I'm like, oh, I want to put that one on the list. And I'm like, yeah, but that means getting rid of another book I already picked out. And one
we're putting you in like 2027 at this point.
Oh, yeah, I could be. And there is one month that I do have kind of the type of book that I want for the month, but I have 4 different book options. So either I'll let my co-host for that month decide, or I'll put up a poll for the book club. We'll see.
Perfect. Yeah. Aw, Kitty.
Yeah, he finally showed up. He's been curled up in the corner over there most of the evening and hiding out.
Aww.
Yeah. My husband was like, I'll leave the door open so he can wander around. And I'm like, no one's going to care if he cashes in the video. So.
Nope. I kept my dog outside the door here because she'll hear a noise and then she'll start barking and it's all over.
Apparently we're just going to curl up outside of camera view. So I think that was all that we had.
All right. Well, round 2 is done.
Round 2 is done. It is live, and we did have some people join us.
Good. I didn't see anything in the chat or anything.
There was nothing in the chat, but I can see that there were some people popping in and out. So.
Perfect.
I hope you guys enjoyed it.
Yes.
Hopefully we do not have to do this a third time. It should all be working now.
Yeah, absolutely. I see it here. We're good. Okay. We should be good. All right.
Well, thank you for doing this twice.
Yes, no problem. And we'll see